hit. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, our weekly Producers Club. So what a treat today, huh? Having our one and only team leader, broker of record of multiple offices, Simon Cazares, the guest, right? It's fun to put you on the spotlight. Yeah, finally.
Finally, yeah,
Right?
it's been a minute.
Yeah. So we're here at the South Bay office, and as I mentioned, not only he's a very talented professional, he's also a world famous pancake chef. So he's going to serve us breakfast today at 10 o'clock. You're welcome to join in, Mary King. Simon, so you know, we always put on the e-blast, right? The kind of short bio that tells about the person, etc.
Right.
And I was reading it, you know, like our amazing agents who are watching us right now.
Right.
And I'm like, should I read? Big people can read your bio anytime.
Sure.
Right. There's nothing like to hear it from you. And that was just like a taste of this person's life journey. So give us kind of, I guess, you know, in a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
Background about who Simon is, where you came from, how you get to where you are today.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you, Meny. It's a total surprise and, you know, very special to be here, especially with this awesome group, obviously. So thank you so much for the introduction, Meny. So yes, most of you know who I am, Simon Cazares, team leader, broker of record for multiple offices, South Bay, and also the LA coastal office in Long Beach. So, you know, I definitely have a passion of what I do. That's first and foremost, but also having the right drive and mindset, right? This is the whole purpose of what we do, right? Is the opportunity to help people. More so, let me take you back 25 years, 25 years. I can't believe it just feels like yesterday, Meny, that I started this endeavor to get into real estate, and it's been an awesome ride. Super awesome. Does real estate have its ups and downs? 100%. Does it have its strains and stress? Absolutely. Does it have days where you're hitting roadblocks and walls? 100%. You know, but it's staying in the trenches of it, right? And staying devoted and dedicated and obviously showing up, which is the number one thing in my opinion.
So 25 years ago,
Yeah.
that's what you got when you got licensed.
Correct. Yeah,
So-
back in the 90s.
Yeah. So what made you pursue the license to begin with?
So it all started with infomercials back in the 90s. I don't know if you guys remember, there was all kinds of crazy real estate infomercials, how to get rich through no money down real estate transactions. So that's what I was. I was a kid in my 20s when I would see these infomercials and thought, gosh, you know, I want to be, when I grow up, someone like them, you know, buying homes, having the money, having that lifestyle. So that's what it started. So I would go to these infomercials thinking, gosh, you know what, I'm going to get all the knowledge and I'm going to utilize that knowledge to now make a lot of money. Well, what a surprise that was, right? They either fooled me or I just did not understand the concept. I would go there for 2 to 3 hours listening to these seminars and thinking, okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. They're going to give me that magic formula, right? That's going to make me wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get discouraged and disappointed because at the end it says, if you provide us with $10,000, we will now give you the magic sauce. And it's like, I was a kid, I did not have the means. I looked at the pros and cons, you know, should I invest in this so-called real estate game, right? And I realized, you know, the pros and cons, you know, I was a young guy trying to just make things out of, you know, perspective. So I couldn't do it. I just didn't have the means to do so. So I would get discouraged, walk out thinking, gosh, there has to be something out there that I can just connect and ultimately achieve it. So that's when I started really thinking, you know, and I had a previous career before getting into real estate, and I'll touch on that in a bit. But the reason I got into real estate is because when I would go to these seminars in the 90s, you know, they would talk about creative ways of finding real estate. creative ways of putting contracts together. And that was the key thing for me is, okay, if I know how to maneuver through the trenches of a real estate transaction, then that's where the opportunities would start coming. So that's when I said, maybe I should transition and get my real estate license. But I didn't want to be a real estate salesperson. That was not the intent. The intent was just for me to understand contracts. That was it. I just wanted to understand the ins and outs and how to put a deal together, how to submit, how to negotiate transactions. Well, when I got my real estate license in 96 or 97, I was like, wow, I finally completed something of my bucket list of things that I wanted to achieve, right? Which now is one step closer to what I thought, in my opinion, getting me where I needed to be. So I says, well, now that I have a real estate license, what do I do with it? So I started interviewing different offices to understand, okay, I got the license. Now I need to know how to practice, the art of real estate, right? And understand the ins and outs, just like what we do here as leaders, giving and pouring into our agents. We all start somewhere. Okay. So the key element to success is not giving up, because the problem in our industry, because we're independent contractors, self-employed, we think, okay, you know what, we can come and then we can go, right? But in essence, the success is just continuously going forward every step. As I said earlier, you're going to hit walls, you're going to have challenges, but it's not to stop. It's just continue doing what you need to do. That's the ultimate success.
So you got your license, you went to interview, you found the brokerage of choice, right? What made you join? You can share which one it was back then, and what made you join that specific brokerage?
Yeah, so back in the 90s, in the area that I was focusing, which was the San Gabriel Valley, we didn't really have many choices. There was big offices, and the one company that dominated the area was a Century 21 office. So that's where I started my career, was Century 21. So I interviewed 3 offices, and one of the offices that I truly wanted to be was with the owner and broker named Marty Rodriguez. Many of you probably know she's still an active agent, owns a real estate franchise out in the Glendora area. And the reason I chose her first was because there was an infomercial of her with Tony Robbins and how she became a success in real estate, doing, what we preach every single time. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to know about this on Marty Rodriguez. So I reach out to her over the phone and I say, I'd like to come in and see if I can join the office. And they said, hold on one second. Now, remember, this was in the 90s, which we didn't have the technology at the time. So Marty Rodriguez jumps on the call and says, how can I help you? My name is Simon, got my real estate license. I would love the opportunity to join your office, which, she has the Century 21 office. And she goes, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. So I, over the phone, gave her all information about myself. And ultimately she says, son, unfortunately, I do not hire new agents.
Wow.
Okay. But I can give you 3 offices that will probably pick you up. Well, from me being so positive and so energetic about the opportunity, because remember, I wanted to learn, I felt like I was shot down and realized, oh gosh, this is not going to be as easy as I thought. Well, I took her advice and I went and interviewed 2 other offices that she recommended, which are high successful offices, and went with the motions of learning. Remember, everything is learning based, right? So I get there and I interview, still wanted to, be part of that office because she was making at a high level, a lot of money in real estate. And I wanted to kind of duplicate and mirror that, platform. So after talking to a couple of offices, I finally landed an office that I felt that was good for me, right? It's that fuzzy feeling that we get. So went with the motions and, spoke with the owner and the broker of the company and says, okay, I'm here. I'm licensed to do real estate. What's next? So he says, see that desk right there, Simon? I said, yeah. Okay, you see that phone right there? I said, yeah. Okay, here's a stack of, documents that I want you to start making calls. I go, who am I making calls to? Sellers. I says, what do I say? Well, there's a script on top of that list of sellers that you're going to be calling. Start practicing your skill sets of understanding, contracts and more so, communicating with sellers for the opportunity of getting listings. So that was my first day in real estate.
Practice very soft. Here's a script, you figure out, here's a phone, do it.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Almost the same like we have today, right? Not really.
Yeah, that was it. I had a stack of paper and, went at it. Did I fail? Absolutely. Did I have, again, my struggles? Yeah. And I was not one that liked to pick up phone. One, I didn't know what to do, what to say. Even though the scripts were there and I would go home and practice the scripts, right, of how to connect with sellers, right? Still, I just didn't feel comfortable actually picking up the phone and making calls, what we call now cold calling, right? Most of us have struggles with that, but that was what you needed to do. And then the other part of that was the broker told me, hey, Simon, you got to be here super early. Okay, so what is early? Well, 7:30. That was the elements of your success was to show up and more so show up early so you can start doing what's called lead gen, right? Which we also, to this day, 25 years, we still do it. It's lead generating, right? We need to lead generate in order for us to have opportunities. So I started, doing what the broker, I was like a Forrest Gump, just said what I promised the broker to do. And then I started seeing the other top performers in the office too. So I started, really just kind of focusing on who were the key players and just kind of asking for an opportunity to kind of learn their style, because each individual agent had their own way and their own style of how they were generating business. So I says, okay, well, I need to know who are the key players so I can understand and duplicate that and ultimately run with that so then I can start getting into production. So that's where it all started for me. It was just finding and identifying the right individuals that were one open and able to help. I even had a mentor to this day, God bless him, he passed away. He was at the time in his 70s. And what I learned from this individual is valuable to me is the ability to navigate conversations. We always talk about communication and ultimately how to connect with people. Yep. He was not at a high level agent, but he knew how to connect at a high level with people, if that makes sense. So I started understanding the elements of how to approach and how to have conversations with people.
And when you say conversations, also, it's what we call today handling objections.
Absolutely, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So remember, back in the 90s, listing presentations and when we would submit offers was not emails, was not text messages.
In person.
It was in person, physically in person. We would go to the homeowner's house and present offers to the listing agent and also to the seller. Mm-hmm. They would talk and say, give us a few minutes, step outside while they talk about it, come back, either they would accept, counter, or reject the offer. It was like going on an interview like we do now, right? Because I've said this many times to a lot of you on the call, right? Is you're unemployed until you're employed by a buyer or seller, right? That's when we go to work. When a buyer gives you the opportunity to work with you, or a seller gives you the opportunity also, right, to work with you, that's when we're employed. So that was to me one of the most treacherous times in my career in real estate in the beginning stages. Just gosh, this is intense, how do you navigate all this stuff, right? but I started learning from the mentor and some of the top agents. So that's kind of the beginning of my real estate career. I stayed devoted, dedicated to it, and just was a sponge, right? Just a sponge of grasping ideas, looking and mirroring other people that were doing it at a high level. And then I just started making a dent in the real estate industry. And for me, the most powerful thing that I was utilizing at the time was open houses. That was it. I didn't like picking up the phone. I didn't like any of the stuff that had to do with door knocking or over the phone. So I started doing open houses, even though I didn't have any listings of mine. That's where I started, was doing open houses. I would ask agents that had, multiple listings, because they were doing it at a high level. Hey, I would love the opportunity to host your open house. I'm available anytime. Give me the opportunity. And I was consistent.
Now, why open houses compared to different avenues of getting business?
Yeah. Well, for me, that was an opportunity that I didn't really have to work, because the consumer would come to me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't me selling, it was the property selling itself, right? Because when you do an open house, right, Meny, is the house is the showcase, right? And if they're ready and willing to submit an offer, you want to be on the forefront of that conversation, because if they're not working with an agent, right, that gives you an opportunity to represent the buyer if you know and connecting with at a high level as well. So that's where I started doing, is just open houses, where now I was starting to fill my database of people. Mm-hmm. And again, just no difference, 25 years later, is, importing into your database, right? Because it's a systematic approach that helps you to now navigate opportunities, right? Because now you can do follow-ups. Okay, I remember having a conversation with this seller, with this buyer, and they're not at the moment ready. You put them in categories, right? Cold, warm, and hot, right? Hot are people that are immediately ready to submit offers. Hot are sellers that are ready to sign listing agreements. Warm are, okay, we're not at the moment ready, but give us a couple weeks, a couple months to get back to you. And then the ones that were cold is, in the near future, but you still want to keep them there, because that opportunity will eventually come. So that's where the open houses for me, Meny, started, was, in the trenches of doing it. And I just started liking it. A lot of people don't like doing open houses. There's a lot of people that do not like picking up the phone, but you've got to do something of some type of activity in order for you to start seeing results. So that's where it started for me.
So a few questions for you, like just to reflect on what you said, and it's pretty awesome, because as you know, what I'm picking is there are some elements that didn't change. The platform changed, the vehicle changed, the perception changed, right? It's like this lady that you mentioned, the broker. She was promoting herself back in the day with an influencer, right? So it's like today, think about yourself as a business owner. Who can you attach yourself to have other people reaching out to you as the agent of choice, right? So that could be like one interesting, way to look at things.
Right.
Second thing is, if you had to compare, right, back then when you had to go and present offers in person, either to the listing agent or to the listing agent and the seller, to how we do it today, right? Any word of advice to give to agents, because again, there's this disconnect, right? When you send an email, most people just want to send an email, that's it, right? Hoping it will be accepted or counted or whatever. Back then, how it used to be practiced to today, any word of advice, how to bridge the gap.
Absolutely.
To make that more quality presentation.
Absolutely. No, that's a good question, Meny. So, I'm a true believer to the love language of real estate. And what I mean by the love language of real estate is that, when we try to connect with buyers and sellers, you also have to understand, you also want to connect with agents as well. Because when you start building those relationships with agents, then who are the the players out there as well. It doesn't necessarily mean just your office, because there's multiple offices, different franchises out there, and they have their top performers. And you start seeing a lot of that, and this is why it's very important to master the multiple listing service, because who are the agents that are listing properties, right? And more so, these are the individuals that, consistently do open houses, consistently have listings, and their name is shown. You'll see them out there as well. There's signs everywhere, right? Even social media. So that's where you want to also start really connecting with these individual professionals, because the opportunities are going to be there as well. And I'm going to share something with you because, as I said earlier, with this individual, Marty Rodriguez, you can look her up. She's a very successful entrepreneur, and she built her business by the trenches of, prospecting, door knocking. That was her niche. And that niche eventually paid off, where she was able to open up a franchise and start the team. Her husband was in the construction, so she started in the investment aspect of it. And what's so ironic is that when I was shut down by her back in the 90s, it was a circle effect, because eventually when I became and became into leadership, I was a branch manager for a Century 21 office. Right. And ironically, I had her as one of my guest speakers. Okay. And when she, and it was a huge audience of agents that were there listening to Marty Rodriguez, right? And at the end, that's when I shared my story to her. She didn't know who this kid was, but I shared a story to her and I told her what had transpired. And when I told her that story, she literally broke down in tears of the story that I was that kid back in the 90s reaching out to her. Mm. And she said to me, you know what, I will take you anytime. But by this time I was, now a licensed real estate broker, years of experience, knowledge, and now my path was a lot different, right? Because the beauty and the awesome part of this, Meny, and this, look at the success that you've been able to achieve too, is, you have so many opportunities in real estate, not just sales, right? But to build a team, get your avenues of just focusing on sellers and buyers and investors, right? Or an opportunity to be in leadership as well, be a productivity coach. Even as a team leader, even a broker, if you choose to. That's the awesome part of what Keller Williams stands for, is, the support, but more so the opportunities, right? And it's not just here, but, across the country as well.
And so, I wanted to piggyback on that because the funny thing, I had somewhat similar story, but what I'm taking from this is if you were, or if she was back then at KW, she would most likely invite you in open arms. And, like, full respect to the lady, I don't know her, but I mean, right. in a very positive way, I'm saying this about the culture of our company.
Absolutely.
Because it's all about the right. hashtag one team,
right.
Working, growing, investing in other people through slightly different, belief system, if you may, that this individual can make it work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. I think that would have been a tipping point where the conversation would have been a whole different if it was part of the Keller Williams. So yeah.
So today you are running, a few, big operations, right? As a broker of record of several companies, team leader of a massively successful office in the South Bay. Running your own practice of real estate as well, right? And other aspects of real estate. What's on Simon's agenda?
Very good question. So let me try to summon this as clear and concise as I possibly can. First and foremost, obviously, you got to love what you do, right? And to this day, I still love what I do. And for me, it's not about me. It's about the leadership that we have in place. The agents are my number one priority. Okay, and that's just me, okay, which is different for a lot of you on the call, but I'm just giving you my perspective as, to answer Meny's question is, I'm always learning. There's never a time you stop learning in this industry, folks, okay, because for me, just as much as for you, Meny, we continue to learn because the market continuously changes. Technology continuously changes. You've got to be in the forefront of all this to combat, opportunities that your competitors are, 5-10 steps ahead of the game, right? So you've got to be at the competitive edge of understanding. Because when I started real estate, Meny, we only had three pages of our purchase agreement. Now we're at 16, 18 pages. And guess what? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that may be 25. So understand, the elements of why you got into real estate. I always say this, and this will probably never change. Now, it may be after I leave real estate, but here's the thing. Understand contracts, understand negotiations, and understand how to handle objection handlers, buyers and sellers. If you can just master those core things, the rest will fall into place. And the awesome part too is, we can leverage ourselves. And Gary Keller is a master of leaning with talent, right? Leaning towards people that do it more at a high level. This is the reason I lean to this guy right here. Because this guy right in front of me here is a master of understanding the elements of running successful offices. So when I grow up, I want to be like that. So
I want to be a facial hair like Simon one day. Thank you. No, it's all about the team.
Absolutely.
It's about the team.
Yeah.
What I've realized with you, through other people that we have in our amazing leadership and the offices, right? It's really about how to sincerely empower others.
Yes.
For their success first, that will then bring you success.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Not the other way around that we see here and there sporadically. And you're also mastering that. You show up, you can feel that strength, that power, right? In the morning mindsets, in the classes, in the sessions, you're present and you give 110% when you're present for the per person who's there. If it's one person, if it's 100 people, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing for you.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. That definitely hits the core for me because the importance of showing up, right? And that's, again, like Meny says, showing up for 100 people or showing up for one people, it's devotion and dedication. And, the strive, in my opinion, of excellence is for other people. I'm a servant, for my agents. I'm a servant even to my leadership as well, because I understand the ins and outs. I've mastered that ability. Again, I'm not perfect. Am I going to make mistakes? Of course, we all make mistakes. That's just part of growing, right? But understanding, where you're at now and where you want to be in the future, right? And it's an awesome feeling, and I'm just so grateful, so humble to be in the presence of all of us on the call, my office, among leadership. It's just an amazing feeling for me.
Well, I think it's kind of a sweet spot to leave you guys with that powerful statement, right?
Right.
Cazares, I can never say it as perfect as you, Cazares.
Simon Cazares.
Cazares. Okay, practice that. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself and the beautiful story.
Yeah.
And just again, it shows you that you really need one person either to inspire you by believing in you or forcing you to believe more in yourself to get to where eventually you're going to go, or however, shape and form to fulfill your potential.
Absolutely.
And now we have you. So thank you, Marty, for that.
Thank you, Marty Rodriguez. I want to leave this with you real quick. It's something that resonates with me. It is, and I forgot my glasses, but I'm going to do my very best. Here it is. Learn to go find business by actively working your database, and learn how to talk to people that you do not know. Remember, there are only two kinds of people in this world: people you know and people you do not know. And if you don't want to talk to the ones you know, then you won't talk to the ones you don't know. So that's, again, a limited belief. So if you're not willing to step in out of your comfort zone, right, and talk to the people that you already have a relationship, it's going to be 10 times even harder for you to, communicate with people you don't know, strangers, right? So get out of your comfort zone, take action, stay positive, stay devoted, stay motivated, and we're all in the trenches together. Have that Mamba mentality that all of us strive to have. So, I thank you for the opportunity. Meny, thank you so much for this. Was awesome. I was, believe it or not, a little nervous to be on a call. I'm usually, on the other side of the fence, but to be interviewed, it takes, a little bit of courage, which all of us should.
Be on the spotlight purposefully, right?
Right.
Which is a good practice also in real estate. Like we have to have that. So keep inviting that in your life to be in the spotlight all the time, because
Right.
when it's like training day, because once it's showtime, you're a super athlete, you're elite athlete. You perform because you get only one chance at each given time. So
Absolutely.
awesome job, my man.
Thank you.
Let's do a selfie with everybody. Here, sit over here next to me.
All right.
Smile, everybody. Selfie with everybody. Perfect. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Happy Friday. And if you're in the area,